This will rework you. It's crazy, but it works. In Stoic Men Tribe today, we're tapping into a powerful truth, a moment of inner strength, sharp clarity, and timeless wisdom. Don't skip any part of this video. Share your thoughts in the comment. Please do us a favor by hitting the subscribe button, like, and turn on notifications, so you never miss an update. Let's break it down. Not every crack means the structure is falling. Not every fracture is a sign of failure. Some breaks are sacred. Some unravelings are orchestrated by life itself, not to destroy you, but to prepare the soil for who you are yet to become. There are seasons in this life where the familiar dissolves, where certainty slips through your hands like water, and the solid ground beneath your feet turns to dust. It feels like betrayal, like everything you trusted was a lie, like the life you built is silently crumbling while the world keeps turning. But listen closely. This isn't the end. It's the earthquake before your emergence, the collapse that clears the way, the divine demolition of the false self. Because there comes a time when the version of you that once carried the weight of your past can no longer carry the shape of your future. When the masks you wore for protection become suffocating. When the titles, the roles, the routines no longer feel like home. That time, as terrifying as it is sacred. Yes, it's disorienting. Yes, it's painful. But it's also necessary, because you are not who you were, and you can no longer pretend to be. Sometimes the universe doesn't whisper gently. Sometimes it rips the floor out from under you. Not out of cruelty, but to show you that you were never meant to stand still. You were meant to rise. And the pieces breaking right now, they're not evidence of your failure. They're proof that your story is shifting, that life is calling you to deeper integrity, to fuller presence, to a stronger and more truthful version of yourself. So let it fall. Let what is no longer meant for you collapse. Let the old beliefs, the tired patterns, the roles you've outgrown, let them crumble, because the breaking is not the end. It is the threshold. And on the other side of that threshold, after the dust has settled, you will see you were not made to be shattered. You were made to be reforged. The crack is not your undoing. It is the first step in your becoming. But listen closely. This is not your ruin. This is your rebirth. What feels like everything falling apart may, in truth, be everything falling into place. Not the place you imagined, but the place your soul has always needed. Sometimes life doesn't ask for your permission to change. It simply begins. It tears away the comforts that once made you feel safe and reveals the uncomfortable truth. You have outgrown who you were pretending to be. This isn't destruction. It's refinement, a sacred unraveling. Not because you're being punished, but because you are being prepared. Prepared for something more honest, more powerful, more aligned. Because some illusions are too heavy to carry into the next chapter of your life. And so, life strips them from you. The roles you played, the masks you wore, the stories you believed about your worth, your limits, your place in the world. They had to fall away. And yes, it feels violent at times, because we become attached to our armor, even when it's suffocating us. But this, whatever your this is, the heartbreak that left you hollow, the failure that shook your identity, the silence that forced you to listen to your soul, the rejection that made you question everything you believed about love, about value, about being seen. These are not endings. They are awakenings, because the soul doesn't evolve in comfort. It evolves in friction, in the tension between who you are and who you're meant to be. And right now, you are in that sacred tension, not lost, not broken, but in the fire of becoming. So let yourself unravel. Let it hurt. Let it strip you, not of your worth, but of everything false that has tried to bury it. Because the fire doesn't come to destroy the gold, it comes to reveal it. And one day soon, you will look back on this chapter, this season of pain, of confusion, of isolation. And you will realize it wasn't the end of your story. It was the page that turned the whole book. This This is the center of the storm, the middle of the fire. And whether you feel brave or broken, whether you feel strong or shattered, you are being reshaped. You are not being punished. You are being prepared, forged in the heat of necessary discomfort, held in the hands of a process so ancient, so sacred, that even the earth beneath your feet understands it. This is the reworking of the soul, not in soft strokes, but in seismic shifts, not in quiet ease, but in the aching roar of change, because real growth doesn't arrive politely. It doesn't knock and wait at the door. It crashes through, pulling away the layers that no longer serve you, tearing down the fragile scaffolding of ego, fear, and false identity. It will ask you to shed your armor, the people-pleasing, the pretending, the clinging to what hurt you simply because it was familiar. And yes, it will hurt. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally being honest. This pain you feel, it's the sound of something sacred being built inside you, a new foundation, one that can carry the weight of who you're becoming, one that won't crumble under the truth of your soul. So when you feel like everything inside you is breaking apart, when the temptation to go numb becomes louder than the whisper of hope, pause, breathe, and remember this. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. You are not being erased. You are being revealed. You are in the sacred middle. The space between no longer and not yet. The fire that burns away illusion, so that what's real in you can finally emerge. It's okay to tremble here, but don't run. Don't resist. Because on the other side of this fire is a version of you that knows how to rise from ashes. A version that no longer asks the world for permission to exist. A version that walks with power, not borrowed, but earned. And when that day comes, you will understand why this chapter had to unfold exactly as it did. As the great Seneca once wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. This is not your undoing. This is your becoming. You are being remade, not gently, not gracefully, but through the kind of pressure that bends the soul and tests the marrow, through the kind of breaking that doesn't ask for permission. It just arrives, unannounced, unapologetic, unrelenting. It's not the soft evolution you hoped for. It's not the clean chapter change where everything makes sense. This is the kind of transformation that rips the floor out from under you, the kind that leaves you standing in the ashes of your former life, wondering if any of it was ever real. And I know, it doesn't feel like progress, not when you're surrounded by pieces of yourself you no longer recognize, not when the nights are silent and long, and your own thoughts feel like enemies, not when the dreams that once gave your life purpose now seem foreign, like remnants from someone else's story. It doesn't feel like becoming. It feels like breaking. It feels like betrayal. It feels like loss wrapped in silence. You look around and wonder where it all went wrong. Why the universe seems so quiet. Why the people you needed the most drifted away. Why the fire inside you dimmed. And why you feel so unseen in a life you worked so hard to build. And that feeling, that deep ache in your chest, it makes you think you're disappearing. Like the version of you who once believed, who once hoped, who once smiled without faking it, is slowly dissolving into someone you don't recognize. But here's the truth that pain won't tell you out loud. You're not vanishing. You're evolving. You're not being erased. You're being edited, refined, rewritten by something deeper than logic, something ancient and wise and brutal in its honesty. The grief you feel is not weakness. It's the death of old skin. The part of you that could only survive but never thrive is dying off so that something bolder, freer, and more aligned can emerge. This version of you, the one who is tired, raw, questioning everything, is closer to the truth than you've ever been. Because real transformation doesn't whisper. It wrecks. It cleanses by fire. And if you're brave enough to stay in the flames, you'll find that the person who walks out is not only stronger, they are unshakable. As Carl Jung once said, in all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. So no, you're not being broken, you're being reassembled. And what rises from this season will carry the wisdom of every scar and the strength of every silence you endured. You're not fading. You're not disappearing into the noise. You're being uncovered, peeled back layer by layer until only what is real remains. Because pain, especially the kind that grips your soul and refuses to let go, is not just agony, it's revelation. It's not just there to torment you, it's there to teach, to shape, to strip away the masks you didn't even know you were wearing. Real pain isn't senseless, it's surgical. It removes the illusions you mistook for identity. It unearths the self you buried beneath survival, approval, and roles you thought you had to play. This isn't the end of you. It's the beginning of a deeper truth. You see, this process, this inner earthquake, this unraveling, will rewire your mind in ways you never imagined. It will shake loose the false narratives you accepted as law. That love must hurt. That your value depends on someone else's eyes. That safety comes from silence. It will demand you look closer, at the roots of your fear, at the agreements you made in pain, like I must always be strong, or I'll never be enough unless I prove it. It will ask you to dismantle the walls you built for protection. The perfectionism, the people-pleasing, the detachment, and it will show you painfully and beautifully that you were never meant to live in defense. You were meant to live in truth. This season of your life will bring a fire to your thinking. What once felt comfortable will start to feel constrictive. What once passed for love will start to feel like manipulation. And what once seemed like strength, pretending, pleasing, enduring, will feel like self-abandonment. You will question it all. And in that questioning, you will begin to wake up. You'll look back and realize that much of what you called normal was just trauma you got used to. Pain you learned to dress up in routine. Loneliness you masked with distractions. But you were not born to stay numb. You were not created to simply survive the wreckage. You were meant to rise from it. This is the shedding. This is the fire that remakes you. Not to turn you into someone new, but to return you to someone ancient within you. The one who never forgot your worth. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And now, you are learning to react not with fear, but with awareness. Not with retreat, but with resolve. Not with shame, but with sacred clarity. You are not vanishing. You are becoming undeniable. Because survival, though it kept you breathing, was never meant to keep you living. It was a holding pattern, a dim, quiet cage that whispered safety, but robbed you of depth, presence, and purpose. Survival is a crouch, a flinch, a way of existing where every move is a calculation, every emotion is rationed, and your truth is buried beneath what's